Hazard Assessment and Control. Introduction. The safety program determines what hazards are present in the workplace. This is a critical step because the balance of the safety program deals primarily with controlling these hazards. It is through the control of hazards that the frequency and severity of accidents is reduced, resulting in a parallel reduction in human and financial costs. Hazard assessments are a thorough examination of an operation for the purpose of identifying what actual or potential hazard exists. Types of hazards. Hazards are loosely grouped into types based on the type of energy to which the worker is exposed. It is also useful to consider the overall environment as a type of hazard in itself. Here is a listing of some of the types of hazards you will encounter in the workplace. Physical: slipping, falling, strains from lifting, being struck by objects, pinch points. Chemical: toxins, acute or chronic, ingested, inhaled, absorbed, injected. Biological: bacteria, viruses. Environmental: heat, cold, noise, air quality, dust, vapors. Radiation: exposure to radioactive sources, either non-ionizing, microwaves, lasers, radio frequency, ultraviolet, infrared, visible light, or ionizing, X-ray machines, radioactive substances. Ergonomics: design, seating, reaching, user-friendly workplace. Sources of hazards. The sources of hazards can be usefully grouped into these three major categories. Employees: as people interact with other elements in the workplace, they are exposed to hazards which have the potential to cause accidents and/or incidents. Lack of training and emphasis on speed over safety, interpersonal problems, or other personal job factors may cause unsafe acts which are the source of hazards. Equipment and material. The equipment, tools, and materials used in the job process can be sources of hazards. Some items are inherently hazardous, and others become hazardous over time due to improper maintenance, storage, or disposal. Environment. In this usage, environment refers to the overall workplace. Factors such as facility layout, ventilation and lighting, walking surfaces, temperature, and other variables can all be sources of hazards. The three categories, employees, equipment, and environment, are components of the system. Management is responsible to keep the system working productively and safely. Procedure. The identification and assessment of hazards in the workplace is a prime component of an effective health and safety program. Identify the critical tasks. Three assessments are used to determine how critical a task is in the operation. By adding the severity, frequency, and probability together gives the evaluator a criticality rating, range 0 to 10. The higher the score, the more critical the task. Critical ratings of 8 or higher should become high priorities for further analysis. Hazard assessment and control. Severity. Determine how severe the loss from this task could be. This is based on history and estimating the potential of loss from none to major. The scoring scale is 0, no injury or loss, nominally less than $100. 2, minor injury or loss, no lost time, minimal effects on production, nominally between $100 and $1,000. 4, lost time injury, no permanent disability, and loss greater than $1,000 but not less than $5,000. 6, permanent disability, fatality, amputation, major damage and loss in excess of $5,000. Frequency. How many people would be exposed to this hazard? How often is this task done? How long are people exposed? And who else could be affected if something goes wrong? Probability of loss. Ask, how dangerous is this activity? How likely is it that something will go wrong? How complicated is this task? Determine how likely it is that things will go wrong when a worker performs a task. 0, low probability. 1, moderate probability. Or 2, high probability. Determine what program or working solution is required for these tasks. Engineering, procedures, practices, special training, special rules, industrial hygiene training, and PPE. Critical task analysis. Determine the most critical task of your highest scoring task, for example, 8 or higher, and break that task into steps or activities, precisely what is being done. There are two ways to get the information. Observation. Observe the workers and write down the steps. Review and discuss the steps with the worker and refine the list prior to moving on. Discussion. Interview and discuss with knowledgeable individuals the steps on the job and determine the appropriate descriptive list. Hazards. What could go wrong while doing this task? Consider employees, equipment, materials, environment, production, quality, and safety. Hazard control. There are three methods of hazard control. These are engineering control. These would include such things as redesigning the work area, guards on machinery, and changes to the product being used. The objective of engineering control is to design hazard out of the work system. Administrative control. These are specific to procedures and process. Examples include general and specific rules and general and specific procedures and practices, job rotation, which includes limiting the number of work hours that an employee can be exposed to certain noise, vibrations, and etc. Changing the way in which the job is done reduces the risk of injury. Personal protective equipment, used to provide direct protection to the employee. Items include safety glasses, CSA steel-toed boots, hard hat, respiratory equipment, gloves, etc. PPE is to be considered a last resort after the above criteria have been met. Workers must also be trained in the use and care of PPE. Hazard assessment and control. Hierarchy of control. Engineering, administrative, and PPE controls can be thought of as a hierarchy of control. The first choice is engineering controls because it is believed that designing or engineering out a hazard is most effective. The hazard is effectively eliminated from the workplace. The second choice, administrative controls, have the disadvantage that the user of procedures or work methods must be adequately trained, qualified, and experienced in order for the administrative controls to be effective. The third choice, PPE, protect the worker within the hazardous environment, but only if PPE appropriate to the hazard is used and properly maintained. Now that the assessment is complete and necessary practices and procedures have been written, the supervisor or manager is in a position to put all of this to work. The following summarizes the various ways the results of hazard assessments can be used. Update work procedures and practices, create new work procedures and practices, assist in accident investigation, train new employees, assist supervisors in monitoring work performances, assist in modified work assignment. Update and maintain records. It is easy to allow hazard assessments to become obsolete. Set up a system to reevaluate and review hazards whenever there are changes to the operation or work being done.